justice was served and there was real accountability here. My family and I support the plea that was worked out with the district attorney. And I think it is important that we're showing here in America that there is going to be accountability. There will be consequences for this type of political violence. I will tell you, just on a personal note, as to how my family and I are doing, it's a work in progress. I mean, I'm here at the governor's residence right now, just feet away from where Balmer was, where he set that fire. And so on the one hand, our family feels relieved that we can somewhat close this chapter now and know that there is accountability. But on the other hand, it's a constant process of trying to heal through this. And I'll just say on a very personal note, Jake, not even as a governor, but just as a dad, the notion that doing the job that I love so much, right, serving my fellow Pennsylvanians, that would put my kids' lives at risk, that would put my wife's life at risk, let alone my own, that's a hard thing to work through. And I'm not going to be deterred from doing this work. I'm not going to be deterred from fighting for the good people of Pennsylvania every day. But this is not without its toll. There are example after example, sadly, in this country of people walking around with the physical toll of political violence, like Paul Pelosi or Gabby Giffords. But there's an emotional toll as well, and that is something my family and I continue to work through. You know, Jake, I've been trying to unsee that video for the last 6 months. And today, really, for the first time, Pennsylvanians, Americans saw that video. They saw just the way in which he lied in wait on the grounds of the governor's residence, the way he smashed with a metal hammer the window and threw a Molotov cocktail and ignited a massive fire here, the way he used that same hammer to break in, and the way he used that hammer to try and bust through the doors that are literally right behind the camera I'm talking to you on right now, where if he was successful at getting through those doors, he would have been in the living quarters here at the governor's residence and been just steps away from my family and I. It is hard for us as we walk through these halls to know that he was in here as well. That said, I must tell you that we're not willing to live in fear. We're not willing to succumb to that fear. And we have found strength from so many people in this Commonwealth and across this country who have reached out to us, who have prayed for us, who have really helped us find light in the midst of this darkness. And that strength has allowed us to persevere and push through this. We're not going to be captives to the fear, and we're not going to allow ourselves to be victims. We're going to continue to plow forward and do this work that we love. Obviously, we want to do it in a way that keeps us safe and most importantly, our children safe. But there's no question that we're going to keep plowing forward. Look, obviously, as governor of Pennsylvania, I don't have foreign policy in my job description. But clearly, the district attorney thought that this was a material fact. He read it in court today. It was part of the evidence that he wanted introduced and on the record when he laid out the rationale for this stiff sentence when the defendant accepted and pled guilty to all of the charges before him. Clearly, this was a motivating factor. And it goes back to what I was saying before. Whatever is motivating this political violence in this country, it needs to stop, whether it's targeting me because of my faith, whether it's targeting someone else because of their ideology. It is not okay. And I think we need all leaders to speak and act with moral clarity, to call it out, to condemn it, and to try and take down the temperature so we don't end up in situations like this where public officials are targeted because of their faith or their feelings or their ideology. It's not okay. We have seen violence against people on the political left and right, and violence perpetrated by people who have left-wing ideology and right-wing ideology. And you correctly noted that for many of these people, remember, they're picking up a weapon. They're trying to take someone's life. These are not rational thinkers, and so they don't think in a linear way. And so they've got views that are all over the map. And so to suggest that the responsibility of political violence exists on just one side of the aisle or another is absolutely wrong. And I think it is proven to be wrong. I think it is also important to note that after Butler, I was there calling it out, as were others. And what that is, I think, indicative of is my view that we need political leaders to call out the violence that we're seeing in the political violence that we're seeing. We need leaders to call it out no matter who is perpetrating it or no matter who is a target. And the third point here related to the president is the president has been a victim of this violence. He should know better. He should want to bring down the temperature, and yet he's been cherry picking which violence he wants to condemn and which violence that he's going to let pass. It was horrific what happened to Charlie Kirk, and the president was right to call that out. But it was also horrific what happened to Speaker Hortman in Minnesota just a few weeks prior. He should have called that out as well. Just cherry picking which violence we're going to condemn ends up actually ratcheting up the temperature and making some people feel like there's a pass that a little bit of political violence is okay as long as it's directed in a certain way or against a certain type of person. We need the leader of this country to speak out against all political violence, as I try to do every day, and I know as others try to do. And that is how we're going to help bring down the temperature. When people feel as though it's unacceptable no matter what, that's when we can begin to heal, and that's when we can begin to repair this nation.